There are 28 days to the NFL draft, and I've got my first round NFL all 32 team mock draft for you. We're at version 11.0. We've been doing this. Let's get to it. Smash that like button. Let's go, baby. What's going on, everybody out there? It's your boy, the WayneBreezie, host of the WayneBreezie Show, and welcome to my NFL mock draft, all 32 team mock draft, where I get the opportunity of being 32 different general managers around the league. And I've been paying attention to the comments in the comment sections of these mock drafts, and I get the good feedback, I get the negative feedback. All feedback is welcome, and I will be doing a better job at listening. All right, if this is your team, you want the right person mocked for your team, I get it. And so I'm going to do a better job. Before we get into it, make sure you guys smash that like button. And don't forget, if you're new to the channel, hit subscribe. Click on subscribe. It's super important. All right. If you want to support the channel, become a member of the Breezie Bunch crew. It's super simple, right? Boom. All right. So let's get into this mock draft. I'm not going to waste anybody's time. We're doing the first round, and I'm going to try to make this more as realistic as I can as far as where I think the teams are going to do. And I think it's going to be really hard to trade up to that first round pick, and I really think that the Tennessee Titans, with 28 days left to go, the first round, April 24th, I think the Tennessee Titans have their pick set. We watched Cam Ward do his pro day. I think he's the guy. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get into it. Let's start this draft, and let's not waste any time. Now, no, they don't have Cam Ward as the best player in here, so we'll go to quarterback, and I don't think they're going to waste any time. I don't see any team that's going to be willing to trade up to get this particular player. And for me, I get it. I get it. You know, Will Levis, you're cool with him. You rock with him until you feel Cam Ward is ready to go. So with the first pick of the 2025 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select quarterback Cam Ward. Let's go. Cam Ward, you are the pick. I think it's a round of applause pick for the Titan fans out there, because you know you're going to get better at the quarterback position. Maybe not in 2025. You already have an offense. You've been building the offensive line. The defense is pretty stacked. And so I feel like Cam Ward is going to give you guys the best opportunity out there as you continue to move forward. So whether you go Will Levis now, you trade Will Levis on draft, I don't know. But Cam Ward is definitely the number one pick in the draft. And since we're talking quarterbacks, I don't know if the next best quarterback, you see he's ranked 46th. Here's what I love about Shedeur Sanders. I know a lot of people don't really like him. He's efficient. So can he make the big-time throws down the field? He can. It's not his strength, but he can make some of those throws. But you know he's efficient. Look at where his average depth of target is, 8.1%. I love that, right? Because now you're getting a guy that's going to come on into your offense. He's going to command the offense. He's going to build efficiency with your offense, and you're going to move the chains. I don't know if he wants to play in Cleveland. I don't. I really don't. I really don't care. Cleveland Browns shouldn't care either, because they need to get their quarterback, in my opinion, for the future. And I get it. Next season, there's going to be tons of other quarterbacks coming out. If you're a losing team, you draft a quarterback next year, right? If not, you bring in Shedeur Sanders as the pick. And so with the second pick of the 2025 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select quarterback Shedeur Sanders. And you guys can miss me with, whoa, we got Kenny Pickett and, Deshaun Watson. I don't think the Cleveland Browns fan base, the dog pound, gives two flying, cares about Kenny Pickett or Deshaun Watson at this point. I think it's time for something new. And now you go ahead and you address what you're going to do. Now you build the offense for Shedeur Sanders, right? You build the offense for him. So first two quarterbacks off the board right away. Didn't waste any time. This is, to me, when the NFL draft officially starts. Because if there's a trade, is there a team willing to trade up for Abdul Carter, who's arguably the best player in the draft. Maybe, if there's a trade, like, I like PFF. I would try to look at the most realistic trades that they have available. Okay, most realistic. Um, and so to get that number 3 spot, though, it's going to cost. So I don't want people to feel like, oh yeah, we're just gonna swap first round picks. Nah, it's gonna cost the Raiders some picks. But I know a lot of people, when I look at the feedback, they don't like that. They feel like I'm asking for too much, and I'm just like, well, I'm going with the simulator. I'm kind of going with the simulator. So we won't do any trades, but you can see the Raiders are willing to move up, the Jets are willing to move up because everybody wants Abdul Carter. Everybody wants Abdul Carter. I'm surprised just not the 49ers aren't in this pool. But I think if you're moving up, you're not moving up to draft Jackson Dart or Tyler Shugg or Kyle McCord or Dylan Gabriel or any one of those other quarterbacks. I think you're moving up to draft, Abdul Carter. The question is, if the Giants went Abdul Carter here, which I don't think they it's weird, right? Because they should. He's the best player. They have Brian Burns. They have everybody out there that they need on the defensive side. I mean, I know they didn't bring back Ojulari, but they have Thibodeau, right? And so when I look at the Giants' defense, I'm like, they're pretty stacked, defensively, right? They're pretty stacked. When I look at their edge rushers, they've got some guys. They run a 3-4, all right? They got the nose tackle in Dexter Lawrence. Brian Burns is their left. They got Thibodeau as their right. They got Enrique in the middle. I don't think they go there. Now let me go. They did sign Paulson Adobo in free agency. They brought in Javon Holland as a safety in free agency. Do they trust Deonte Banks? Is that the guy? Now, I feel like, for me, the best player on the board, and I get 7 minutes, right? 7 minutes on the first round picks, right? So I'm talking a little bit about it. Why do I feel like if the Giants don't make a trade back, the pick has to be Travis Hunter? It has to be Travis Hunter, right? Over Abdul Carter, because they don't need Abdul Carter. They don't need that position. But they can use a kid that can play cornerback. They can use a kid that can play wide receiver. And when you look at his stats, man, this is exactly what he does, right? Man coverage, great. Zone coverage, great. Forced 8 incompletions, 11 coverage stops, few missed tackles here or there, okay? Few missed tackles here or there. And this is just from a defensive standpoint. That's how we're looking at it. We're not even looking at his wide receiving situation. We're not even looking at that. But I think when you look at it, you can use him as a wide receiver on some reps. And can you imagine bringing out Travis Hunter and the Giants wide receiving core? Darius Slayton they brought back. Still Jalen Hyatt looking to do his thing. They still got Wan'Dale Robinson. And I didn't even mention their best wide receiver. I didn't even bring him up yet. I feel like I don't have to. But Malik Neighbors, and you add Travis Hunter to the mix, and then you get better defensively, I feel like the pick is in Travis Hunter. So the top 3 picks, boom. And this is not a shot at Abdul Carter. I know Abdul Carter feels like he's the number 1 pick in this draft, which he should be. But this is what happens when teams go after, players of need. We're talking about needs, right? And if I'm even in PFF, their needs for the Giants were quarterback, tackle, interior, and corner. So I addressed the cornerback position opposed to getting them a big guy up the middle, which I feel like they have pretty solid depth. All right, now let's look at the New England Patriots. And I know the Patriot fans, there's no way Abdul Carter is going to fall past the Patriots. I don't care what their needs are. There's just no way, right? There's no way that that's going to happen. And if I'm the New England Patriots, if the New England Patriots are drafted, I don't want to do this if I'm picking, because I would select Abdul Carter for the Patriots. I know they need a wide receiver. They need a true number 1 wide receiver. That's what they need, right? They definitely do need that. But if I'm the New England Patriots, I'm saying to myself, I'm looking at my wide receiving core. It's Kayshon Boutte, it's Matt Collins, it's Kendrick Bourne, Jalen Polk, Demario Douglas, Javon Baker, rookie from last year, Jaquay Jackson, and John Giles, right? Those are my receivers. Tet would be surefire perfect here, okay? Surefire perfect. When I go to the edge, it's Milton Williams, okay? It's Milton Williams, Jeremiah Farms Jr., okay? And then you look at their they run like a 3-3 type of defense, right? Their base 3-4. All right, so when I go and I look at their outside linebackers, they did bring in Harold Landry, all right? And I feel like this would be the perfect fit for him. Perfect fit. Do I believe Anthony Jennings is going to be the guy? Possibly. Could be. But if you bring in an Abdul Carter, the Patriots will have that rotation up front, which is something that they definitely can use. The pick is in. I'm not even going to sit here and continue to argue against, is it Tet versus Abdul Carter? I'm taking edge rusher over wide receiver any freaking day, all right? So, top 4 picks, just a quick recap, because the draft didn't start till pick 3. Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, first 2 quarterbacks off the board. You can book that, man, and that's a bomb right there, right? You can book that. And then we went Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, and now this is where the draft is really going to kick off. You got all the top players off the board, and now we can kind of get into what's going to happen, all right? You got the Jacksonville Jaguars on the clock. Says they need a wide receiver, tight end, interior defensive guy, and safety, which they do. They can use several players to help boost up the roster. Now let's just look at them. I'm gonna look at them as far as wide receivers. They have Brian Thomas Jr. They did sign free agent De'Ami Brown. All right. They also have Parker Washington. So those would be your 3 receivers right there. And in the backup, you got Cephas, Gabe Davis, Austin Trammell. So they have some wide receivers. They could go wide receiver here. Tet would be actually a good piece here. It wouldn't take much from, in my opinion, but they did. It wouldn't take much away from Brian Thomas Jr. because you can line Tet up on the right side. You can use De'Ami Brown in the slot, and now your depth and rotation has just went through the roof. I wouldn't actually. That might not be a bad way to go, but defensively, let's just take a look at defense because there are trade rumors that they're looking to move Trayvon Walker. So, hold that thought, right? So they could go edge, all right? If they felt like, Abdul was going to fall, that might have been a slot they could have picked up. But let's look at the interiors. Devon Hamilton, it's Mason Smith, Eric Armstead, Jordan Jefferson, and Tyler Lacey. It's just like the guy that I feel like would be that needs to go here. Plays in a 4-3. I feel like you got to go Mason Graham here. I feel like that's the pick. I don't want it to be the pick because I'm a Niners fan. But if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars and you get Mason Graham and you pair up Mason Graham with Mason Smith or Devon Hamilton or the rotation. It's all about the rotation. I think the pick is in for me and for the Jacksonville Jaguars with the 5th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. The Jacksonville Jaguars select Mason Graham. Don't forget to let me know what you guys think in the comment section after the first 5 picks. And after I get through, I would say the first half, we'll go back and recap, we did so far in the draft. All right. So the first 10 picks and then we'll recap. All right. All right. So let's get to pick number 6. The Raiders are on the clock. I think the Raiders can go. Here it says they can go 4 directions, right? It says that they need a running back, a wide receiver, an interior guy, and a corner. All right, and a corner. So looking at the Raiders, just looking at what they have, wide receiver wise, I'm all in on this. I feel like Jacoby Myers, slot, Trey Tucker, Ramel Keaton. And then after that, no, right? Ted McMillan, yes, right? The question is this, because I really do think that the Raiders need a running back. They need 2 offensive pieces. They also can probably stand to protect, Geno Smith a little bit more. They did sign Raheem Mostert, so they added a running back to their core. In my opinion, he'll be their starting running back. But Raheem can't stay healthy. That's just a known fact. A little older player. So they brought in Geno Smith. They brought in Raheem Mostert. They brought in Alex Kappa as a guard. They brought in an extra slot receiver in Kyle Phillips. They brought in an extra tight end. Is Michael Mayer up for trade? Is he not? Right now they got Brock Bowers. Big production on the offensive side. I'm hoping this year, if they do go wide receiver, we don't see less of Brock Bowers like how it kind of happened with Sam Laporta and the Detroit Lions. I'm hoping. But up front, you got Colton Miller. All right, love him. You got Jordan Meredith, Jackson Powers Johnson, and Dylan Parham and DJ Glaze. So I think their offensive line is pretty stout. I don't think they need to go offensive line here. I think they're pretty stout offensively. It's got to be, to me, offensively, if I'm going to go, it's got to be Tet or Genty. Genty, to me, is over Tet. They got to be able to run the ball, but they also got to give Geno Smith that X. They don't have an X. They don't have an X. Defensively, corners, they got Jack Jones. They have DeCamerion Richardson. So they can go corner here. I think they'll go corner a little bit later, not in the first round. If they did go corner, it would be Jahdae Barron, which I would not mind because now he can play nickel. He can play outside. That would be a solid pick. But I'm looking at Tet and I'm looking at Genty right there on the board, and I'm trying to figure out who should it be. I think the pick is in. The Las Vegas Raiders select wide receiver Tet McMillan, a.k.a. T-Mac. I think this is a good daggone pick, man. I can live, if I'm the Raiders, I can live with my running back score being Mostert, McCormick, Zamir White, and finding a running back a little bit later. And I know you passed up on a generational type of a running back, but you just got Geno Smith, a big body wide receiver, an X wide receiver, and he's used to that, right? Like he used to throw on the DK Metcalf. I think you got Tet McMillan, 4'4" guy, big catch radius. I think that's a solid motherfreaking pick, in my opinion. All right, we're on the board with the New York Jets. All right, the Jets don't need a running back. They got Breece Hall, so this is making Ashton Genty fall. Never thought I'd see this. He's gonna fall. Running backs, I think running backs. If Genty isn't selected to me by the Raiders, I think he falls. I do. I hate to say that. Let's look at the New York Jets and their needs: quarterback, receiver, offensive tackle, which is where I think they go. I'm sorry. This is where I think they go. Defensive interior. Mason Graham is off the board. I think they go offensive tackle here. And looking at the Jets, what type of tackle are they going to be looking for is the question. Do they want the big guy, Will Campbell, out of LSU? Good pass protector, struggles in the run game. But I think as far as the power running, I think that would, he's better in zone. Like right? That's Breece Hall. That's their alignment. That's what they do. Can play left tackle, can play right tackle. Love Will Campbell here. Don't think it'd be a reach, the 6'6", 323-pound tackle out of LSU. But when I think of my top tackles, like if I go offensive tackle in this draft, Mimbu, I have him higher. I think Mimbu would be a better fit. A little shorter, though, 6'3", 314. I think he came in at 6'3" and some change, or almost 6'4". But he ran very well. An athletic tackle on the right side. Now, I got to look at the Jets because I got to see from a Jets perspective how they're looking offensive line wise, right? So their left tackle, they got Fashanu last year. Think he's going to be fine. Guard John Simpson, center Joe Tippmann, Vera Tucker is their guard, and it's Carter Warren. And I feel like you could stand the upgrade right there if you're a Jets fan. And I know it's not the sexy pick, but why not go tackle right here? Like, I feel like when I look at the versatility of the tackles, they don't need a versatile tackle, in my opinion. They need a right tackle. I really, truly believe they need the right tackle, right? They need a guy that can play on the right side. Yes, Will Campbell has played some on the right. He's predominantly a left tackle. I think he serves better on the left If they're looking for a specific fit, I think the pick is Armand Membu. Jets fans are probably going to boo me for this. But with Justin Smith being there, you want that guy. You want that mobile guy can kick out, that can move around, not get the penalties drawn. I think it's a solid pick. Armand Membu to the Jets. I mean, all right, cool. No problem. All right, I got you. Carolina Panthers are on the freaking clock. And I look at the Carolina Panthers, I say, man, they're a young, old team, right? Like old at certain positions. Edge, corner, wide receiver. So edge, corner, wide receiver. And I feel like they took a big hit on the defensive side. I feel like offensively, they brought back Adam Thielen. Jalen Coker looks like he's going to, turn up. Like Xavier Legette, they drafted him last year, and I think in the first or second round, right? First round, pick 24, excuse me. And so I feel like offensively, they don't need to go receiver here. So I'm going to switch to the defensive side. And defensively, how did they improve in free agency? Because that's the question. Like, did they get better? They did bring in Tershawn Wharton as a right defensive end. As far as their outside linebackers, they have Jadeveon Clowney. They have DJ Uwanum. I feel like they can go there. Corners, J.C. Horn, Wade Smith, nickel, Mike Jackson from Seattle. Like, I feel like their corners are pretty decent. I don't know if they want to go a corner here. I actually like their nickel back. So if they were to go Jahdae Barron, I don't think that would be something that they need to do. They could. Don't think that they should. I feel like they got a guy here. But here's the kicker, right? Their running backs are tight, man. Chuba Hubbard, Rico Dotto, I know Jonathan Brooks. They're not drafting GNT, right? Like, why would they draft GNT? I feel like he's really gonna fall. Like, I'm trying to tell you, I feel like the Panthers here, they're going to go edge. I think they're going to go edge. I feel like edge, they need a guy that plays like in that 3-4 outside linebacking role. And so when I'm looking at that, I'm not looking for the big defensive ends, the 264-pound defensive ends. Like, I'm not looking at those guys, right? I'm looking at the lighter defensive ends, the outside linebackers, the quicker guys for their defensive front. And Mike Green and James Pierce are two or three that stick out. Donovan Ezeraku's another one that stick out to me. And, they got Jadeveon Clowney. And then on the right side, like I said, they got Wanham. But I feel like they can go edge here, and that would serve them a huge purpose. The question is, do they go Mike Green? Do they go James Pierce? Now, Mike Green has been testing through the roof. And I know Niners fans don't want Mike Green, but that doesn't mean that Panthers fans don't want Mike Green. The pick is in. It's going to be edge rusher Mike Green. All right? Mike Green. The New Orleans Saints on the clock, man. When I look at the Saints, I don't know why I feel like they should just go tight end. Saints fans, would you like that? Is it a thumbs up? Is that a thumbs down? Like, let me know. I know you guys re-signed Juwan Johnson as your tight end, but your tight ends are looking like Foster Moreau, Juwan Johnson. Ain't none of those would compare to the best tight end that's available on the board. Now, how spicy would it? I could see the Saints trading back too in real life. Like, I could see them trading down. But how spicy, if they stayed here at pick 9, how spicy would it be if they decided to trade? I mean, not trade. If they decided to draft Ashton Jeanty, right? And then hit you with that 1-2 punch from the running back's perspective. Alvin Kamara, Jeanty would be running back 2 for sure. I know you got Kendre Miller, Jordan Mims. They got a stacked room. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is there. Don't think they go running back though. But I'm just looking at him. I'm saying, like, he's available. Offensive line, I mean, Will Campbell's still on the board. Offensive line though, I don't think they need to. I like Talise Fuaga. They drafted him last year. As far as the tackles, and Trevor Penning, I think their tackles are pretty stout. I do feel like they can go quarterback, but I don't think they go quarterback in the first round with those two first guys being taken. They could go wide receiver here. Chris Olave, like looking at their wide receiving core, I mean, Chris Olave is there. And I mean, Luther Burden would be a nice pick, right? But who's their slot receiver? Oh, it's Rashid Shaheed. I'm not changing Luther Burden for Rashid. I like what he does. But they could always rotate him. They did sign free agent Brandon Cook, so they got more depth at the wide receiver position. But it's Chris Olave, Bub Means, Mason Tipton, Brandon Cooks, Kevin Austin Jr., Dante Pettis. They re-signed, right? So Rashid Shaheed, Cedric Wilson Jr. I didn't even know he was there. And they got Velus Jones Jr. as well that they just signed in free agency. I really like Emeka Egbuka here. I want to give them the tight end, but I think if they go wide receiver, that would be solid. Defensive line, it says that they need a defensive lineman, so let's just take a look at their defensive line. They run that 4-3 base. That's pretty. It's kind of like where I am. So they can go edge. Right? And a 4-3 base, you kind of want those edge rushers a little bit bigger. So I don't think that James Pierce would be the best fit here. I don't think he'll be the best fit here. But here's the guy. They got Carl Granderson. He's getting a little old, so that's why I think they can go edge here. Also on their right defensive end, Jordan Cameron, another player that's getting a little old. But these are the bigger guys. Like, these are some of the bigger guys. I do like, James Pierce, but I just feel like he might be a little too light. Donovan Ezeraku, another light edge off. Let me look up. Let me see how Carl Granderson. Let me check his weight. 261. Yeah, they go with the bigger. I think they're gonna go with bigger guys. If they're gonna go defensive lineman, they could go interior. They did get Davon Godchaux from the Patriots, so I don't think they're gonna draft there. I think they go wide receiver, man. I don't like. I do see Luther Burden there. I know he's higher ranked. I did say that I think that they could trade down. I wouldn't be surprised if they traded down. Okay, I wouldn't be surprised. But I really like Emeka Egbuka, big wide receiver to me. Could line up in the slot. Good contested catch rate. All right, you look at him 6'1", 205, and pair him up with Chris Olave on the opposite side. I know they got Brandon Cooks, but that would be solid. That's my pick, man. I'm going Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State. I know Saints fans are going to be like, boo! Yeah, I know. It's coming. I got you. All right, we're at pick 10, and then we'll do a quick recap. Chicago Bears are on the clock. They've loaded up offensive line. There's no way they're going to draft the offensive line. I mean, they signed every good offensive lineman in free agency. To me, it means two things. One, they're going to run the ball, and two, they're going to be able to protect Caleb Williams. Ashton Jeanty is here. There's no way he moves past 10. The pick is in. Ashton Jeanty, or Jeanty, however you say his name, is going to be a Chicago Bear, and you guys will be happy. I promise you. You don't even need to look him up. You get the guy that can break tackles, great pad level, low center to gravity. Like, this guy is just a phenomenal running back, can catch out of the backfield. And when you look at him, how did the Detroit Lions look? They had a quick 1-2 punch. I'm not sure if Ben Johnson is sold on DeAndre Swift, but you draft Ashton Jeanty and then you figure it out in camp. So we'll see what happens with the Bears, all right? So just a quick recap before we get to pick 11 through 20. All right, Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter to the Patriots, all right? Mason Graham to the Jags, top 5 picks. And then Ted McMillan went to the Raiders, Armand Membu to the Jets, Mike Green to the Panthers, Emeka Egbuka to the Saints, Ashton Jeanty to the Chicago Bears, all right? The 49ers are on the clock, and the 49ers, man, I feel like I know this team better than any team in the NFL. And, they can go several routes here. I see Will Campbell on the board. They can go offensive tackle here. They can go cornerback here. All right, I'm just going looking at their needs. They need a guard, a tackle, a defensive lineman, and a corner. Okay, guard, tackle, defensive lineman, and a corner. Okay, now the question is, if your top guys are gone, let's just say the 49ers top tackle was Armand Membu. The question is, who's their top corner? Is it Jahdae Barron? See what I'm saying? Is it Jahdae Barron? Or is it Will Johnson? Or is it somebody else? I don't think we kind of know that, but they did meet, if I'm not mistaken, with Jahdae Barron. They met with Will Campbell. So these are guys that I feel like they're going to go after. Defensive line, Kenneth Grant is ranked higher than Walter Nolan, and I don't understand why. I do love Kenneth Grant. I'm a Michigan fan. Do I want to play the game? Do I want to go after my second best tackle? My second best defensive tackle? Do I want to go with my number one corner? Do I want to go with my number one linebacker? Like, you got some number ones here over some number twos. And I know I'm going to get slayed in the comment section if I don't address the needs. I'm not sure why PFF doesn't say that the Niners need a linebacker, but losing Dre Greenlaw is crucial. For the sake of that, though, I'm not going to go linebacker here. All right, now if you want to check out my 49ers mock draft, please do so. You can check it out. You can see who I picked this week for the 49ers. But I'm going to go with the safe pick, and I'm going to draft the heir to the throne. Now, he can play guard. I mean, he could play right tackle. Sorry, he could play right tackle. He's got snaps at the right tackle. They talked about kicking him in the guard. Will Campbell will be an impact player whether he plays tackle or guard in the NFL year one. He's staring at me in my face. I'm not going to overthink this. I'm drafting Will Campbell. Niner fans, if you don't stand up and give me a round of applause for this, then we fight. It's just super simple, right? It's just going to be a straight brawl fight, me against y'all, all of y'all. Will Campbell to the Niners. He was there. He's my number 2 tackle, but I feel like in the NFL, if the Niners need him to play guard, left guard spot is vacant. You could slide him on into that left guard spot. Since he's playing left tackle, he'll be right there with Trent Williams. And I trust that combination any freaking day. Dallas Cowboys are on the clock, and for some reason, they need a corner, and it doesn't say that they need a corner, right? They did lose Jordan Lewis, if I'm not mistaken, to free agency, their nickel guy. And, you know, I'm not going to go running back here, not going to go wide receiver. I feel like they don't need those positions, right? They do need a corner. They could go edge, all right? I don't think they need an edge. They got Dante Fowler. They signed him to free agency. You still got Micah Parsons on the opposite side, okay? They got their linebackers. I think they go corner here. I do. I think they go corner. Trevon Diggs coming off the injury. And then you look at Deron Bland. He should be better. If I'm not mistaken, they did sign Kyer Elam. But I think they go get the nickel guy. Israel Makaumu and Keemon Hall. I think Jahdae Barron is the perfect fit here. And if you're a Cowboys fan, I want to know what you think about drafting Texas Jahdae Barron to the Dallas Cowboys. I think that's a dope pick for you guys, straight up. All right, straight freaking up. I'm on the clock with the Miami Dolphins, and just looking at the Miami Dolphins and what the Miami Dolphins need to do, it's super simple. I mean, they could look to stand to protect Tua, or they could just get better on the defensive side. And why do I feel like they're going to go defense here? Like, they got Teron Armstead. They've got, looking at the tackles, Austin Jackson. They signed James Daniels as a guard. They got Liam Eichenberg as a guard. I feel like they're pretty decent up front. Let's go fill in this defense. Let's go get a big mother freaker up front. And when I say big, I mean big. And I like Benito Jones. Okay, could be something. Okay, cool. That's their nose tackle. But when I'm looking at these nose tackles that are available, I'm looking at big Kenneth Grant. I'm looking at possibly like a Derek Harmon. You know what I'm saying? I'm just looking for the big guys. It's not even a no-brainer for me. If I'm a Miami Dolphins fan, you bring in Kenneth Grant with the athleticism and his ability to stop the run, as well as rush the passer from the end freaking terrier, right? Which leaves me to the Indianapolis Colts. And the Indianapolis Colts, guys, ladies and gents, I mean, somebody tell me who their tight end is. Somebody in the comment section, who's the Colts tight end? Because this is where they need to go. It's Drew Ogletree, Jelani Woods, Will Mallory. All right, Mallory, excuse me. All right, cool. Enough said. The pick is in. Tyler Warren is there. He makes it to 14. He goes to the Indianapolis Colts. The Atlanta Falcons on the clock. All right, on the clock. They said that they could use another wide receiver, center. All right, center is an option there. Edge rusher, which is where I think they go, man. They've been depleted. I feel like defensively. I'm not even going to look to address the offense when you have some stout defensive players. They did bring in Jordan Fuller, so I don't think they're going to address the safety position, even though I see Malachi Starks there. But when I look at the edge, they did sign. They brought in Leonard Floyd. They did bring in Leonard Floyd, okay, from the edge rushing position. On the opposite side is Arnold Ebiketie, all right. Former second round pick. Okay, you might want to rock out with that. Leonard Floyd's getting a little old in the tooth, though. And this could be a good situation where they actually sign someone built exactly like Leonard Floyd. And I like James Pierce Jr. You're talking, I mean, as far as size, he's not there. They could go Donovan Ezeraku, but he's a little short too. So 6'2" for him, and then 6'5" for James Pierce. And you look at Leonard Floyd, I believe, is 6'6", 240. I think that's the perfect fit for them. And so why not? Why not draft the next heir to the throne, right? He can be a rotational piece this year, learn under Leonard Floyd, and then boom, you guys got yourselves a dog. All right, Arizona Cardinals on the clock. They're an NFC West team. Of course they're going to get a boo. Yep, all the boos. Sorry, not sorry. Offensive line, and could use a guard, it says. Defensive line, I feel like that's where they're going to go. Or corner. Okay? Or corner. Now, when I look at the Arizona Cardinals, I look at their I don't think they're going to go offensive line right here. I mean, I think they'll address that at some point. But you got to look at the best players that are available. And Will Johnson is there as a corner. And if they need a corner, like right now, it's Bunting Murphy, excuse me, Max Melton, which was their last year's second round pick. They also brought in Elijah Jones from Florida State. So, do they need a corner? Now that I think about it, they signed Jalen Jones as a free agent. I don't know if they got it. I don't think they go corner here. I think they're pretty stacked at the corner position. And so then up front, man, on their 3-4, they did sign Dalvin Tomlinson. So, you know, there's some methods to this madness, right? Like to where the Cardinals can go. Just thinking of how they like to run, right? How they like to run. Let me just go look at the offensive line. It says they need a guard, so I just want to take a look. Evan Brown. They got left guard, right guard Isaiah Adams, former third round pick Isaiah Adams. They got Evan Brown. Man, this is tough. I feel like they're more of a gap power run team. And when I think of those guards that play that way, this is where Tyler Booker kind of like jumps, right? Like he jumps up. I understand that they have him like ranked 48th overall, but his ADP is 34. But tell me, can you imagine Tyler Booker and his meanness up front, which he has been taking center snaps? I think this would be a fire pick for the Arizona Cardinals. AZ Cardinals, let me know what you think in the comment section. But with the 16th pick in the draft, you guys select. And I know y'all going to be mad because you see Will Johnson there. You see, I get it. Walter Nolan is there. I'm just thinking the way you guys offensively want to try to move the ball, right? Pass pro, Tyler Booker. You know what? I'm not going to do y'all like that. Y'all might be able to get him in the second round. Or not. Do they go defense here? I feel like they shouldn't. They don't need to. They could. They don't need to. Just looking at their ends out there, Justin Jones, Darius Robinson, former first round pick, undrafted free agent Justin Jones, Walter Nolan would be a good pick there. I'm really gonna stand on my Tyler Booker selection. Tyler Booker selection. I think that will be solid. All right, Cincinnati Bengals on the clock, and let's get this churning because this is probably the longest all 32 NFL team mock draft that I've ever done, and I'm trying to keep these at least less than an hour. Right, we got 40 minutes. All right, cool. So let's get to the Cincinnati Bengals. They need a guard. They need a defensive lineman, a linebacker, and let me just look at their linebacking situation because I feel like this is where Jihad Campbell is going to go. When you look at their linebackers, I'm looking at the weak side. Jermaine Pratt is still there. All right, he's still there. They did sign Oren Burks in free agency. Yeah, they could go linebacker here. They could go linebacker. Defensive line though, they're pretty stout up there. Joseph Osai, they still have him. B.J. Hill, all right, they got him. They could. Chris Jenkins Jr. Trey Hendrickson is still there. He has not been traded for everybody out there. Like, oh, they're gonna trade him. I'm not looking for them to get an edge rusher, just more of an interior presence. I know they brought in T.J. Hill last year or whatever from B.J. Hill, excuse me. They could go interior, but I think the linebacking spot would be, it's Logan Wilson, Jermaine Pratt, Oren Burks. I think Jihad Campbell would be a perfect fit for them. Seattle Seahawks on the clock. So offensive line and edge rusher. This is kind of like the route that they need to go as far as their needs. All right. And, just looking at the Seattle Seahawks. Oh, sorry. My apologies. I gotta keep it consistent. All right. Another NFC West team. They did add some key pieces offensively. Cooper Kupp, River Craycraft, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. So they did restock the wide receiving core after losing the wide receiving core. They also added edge rusher Demarcus Lawrence, excuse me. He's coming off of the ACL injury as well. So they could go that route where they add another edge to them, which I feel like they're going to do. If not, they're going to go offensive line for sure. Just look at their offensive linemen. Charles Cross is there. Setoa Lumea is there. Oluwatimi is there. Anthony Bradford, Abraham Lucas. Some pretty solid guys up front. I don't think there's any offensive linemen other than like a Josh Simmons that I think would fit there. He's not going to play guard, but Calvin Banks Jr. would be a nice fit offensive line-wise for them. I think that would be a nice fit. Why? Because you can kick him in the guard. He can play tackle, depending on what you're looking to do. I know that they're not going to like this. It's between edge rusher, because when you look at I like Boye Mafe. So like Boye Mafe is a dope dude for me. Minnesota, I think that's where he's out of. So they have some players. I think they bring in Donovan Ezeraku, man. I really do. I think Donovan Ezeraku or Kelvin Banks is the pick for Seattle right here. I'm going to go with edge rusher Donovan Ezeraku with the 18th selection to the Seattle Seahawks. So now they get speed out there on the edge. They get a good guy with just about every pass rush move. If DeMarcus Lawrence isn't good to go, he could probably battle it out with one of the other younger guys that they have out there. I think that's a pretty solid move. He could play in, he could play outside linebacker, however you need him. He'll be a good fit. I got the Tampa Bay Bucks on the clock. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, several holes to fill. They did re-sign some of their guys, right? So they brought back Chris Godwin. They brought back defensively, their linebacker Levante David. So they can go that route. It says they need corner. They need whatever. So let's look at their corners. Zion McCollum, perfect. Bryce Hall, all right. They got the corners. I feel like the corners are there. Jamal Dean as their nickel. He stays injured a lot. Tyke Smith, is their nickel, Tyke Smith from Georgia. Jamal Dean stayed injured a lot. Why do I like Will Johnson here? I don't know what it is, but I feel like this would be a good pick for them, especially if Jamal Dean isn't good to go. And Jamal Dean is one of those bigger type of corners, and I feel like that's Will Johnson. I know they're not going to like that. They did sign Hassan Reddick in free agency, so they added edge rushing to their core. I think they got Yaya Diaby out there as well. I don't think they're going to go edge rusher here. I do like Will Johnson. As far as safety, Antoine Winfield Jr., Christian Isian out there. They could go Malachi Starks. The Malachi Starks is more of a free safety to me. That could be a heavily upgrade for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, now that I think about it. I'm going to go Malachi Starks. That would be an upgrade, in my opinion, to their safety room. Let me know what you guys think, Buccaneers out there. Malachi Starks, you get a surefire, cerebral safety. Not a huge playmaking safety, but just a guy that can go out there and understands what's going on the football field at all times. And now that just allows Antoine Winfield Jr. to play in a box and just tee off and do all the good things that he's able to do. All right, man. Pick 20, we got the Denver Broncos on the freaking clock, all right? So Broncos country, where do you think your team is going to go in the draft? Running back, receiver. I feel like they still need a true X. Love Cortland Sutton. Devon Vale flashed as a slot guy. Marvin Mims Jr., is he that guy? But I feel like this is where Luther Burden goes, right? This is where Luther Burden goes. They don't need a tight end. They just signed Evan Ingram. All right. I know they brought in Trent Sherfield, but I think Burden could beat out Sherfield for a spot. So the pick is in. Defensively, they're stacked. Like, can they go defensive tackle? Yeah. Should they go defensive tackle? Let me revisit this conversation real quick. Let me revisit this conversation. All right. DJ Jones. All right, Zach Allen on their defensive front. Zach Allen, DJ Jones. All right, John Franklin Myers. Okay, Jonathan Cooper. Dude, You got me thinking. Can you imagine a front? See, they re-signed DJ Jones, so I feel like they're not going to go. They're not. I'm so glad Zach Allen is not in Arizona anymore, too, by the way. So I feel like they're not going to go Walter Nolan, but that would be a scary-ass defense, right? With Walter Nolan coming in there, I like it. I feel like they need to upgrade the wide receiving core. If they can do that, they could go Matthew Golden, too. Matthew Golden. Oh, man. Matthew Golden. Whoo-wee. Let's look at these receivers. All right, let's just stop playing around. Luther Burden III, you can see, man, he's averaging 11.1 yards per reception. Only played in 12 games in 2024. You can see he lines up in the slot. That's the majority of where he's going to kill in the game, which means you could use Cortland Sutton out there. I think he would be a better upgrade over Devon Vale, but I like what I saw from Valier, how you say his name, last year. I thought that was pretty cool. Yards after catch, right? That's what I'm looking for. 6.1, doesn't have a lot of drops. You can see his slot yards, so you're getting a solid slot receiver, but then you got to compare him to Matthew Golden, who runs fast, right? 5.2 yards after the catch, all right? He played in all 16 games, including the bowl games, all right? And you could use him. He's more versatile, right? Almost 1,000-yard wide receiver. Now, I do believe that Burden had some injuries last year. Is this where they want to go, though? I'm thinking of Sean Payton. I'm thinking of his quarterback. I say get the quarterback another weapon. I think Matthew Golden is going to be the piece. The pick is in. That took a little longer than I thought. My apologies out there for those that are watching. They're going to slay me over the time, saying that I talk too much or whatever. My apologies. I'm really trying to make sure I make good picks for your teams. I think it's worth the talking too much, all right? Now, let's take a quick break, man. Look, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you guys like this joint, man. Feel free to check out our sponsors over at residency.com. You can see the hats in the background. Go to www.residency.com. Use the promo code SFBreezie, and you can save on your total purchase. Let's get this popping, baby. All right, let's get back to the draft. We are on the clock with the Steelers, and for me, like, I want Will Johnson to go to Pittsburgh. That's for me, right? Quarterback, don't know. Is this a team that's willing to reach for a quarterback at pick 21? Is there a quarterback that I feel will jump up? And why do I like Jackson Dart here? All right. Because you're looking at Mason Rudolph. Jackson Dart is probably the next best thing. I wouldn't be mad if the Steelers did this. I'm going to be honest. If the Steelers reached and got Jackson Dart, which I feel like he should be a second-round pick anyway, all right, he should be upgraded. I think that's a solid pick for the Steelers. The Los Angeles Chargers are on the clock, and they've been in these trade rumors for a guy like Brandon Ayuk. They've been looking to get it, Brandon Ayuk, and I know they have Lab McConkey. Does Luther Burden and Lab McConkey kind of like produce some of the same traits? Yes. Do they go Luther Burden here? No. I feel like that's not the route that they're going to go. I really do believe that if they go wide receiver, it's going to be for a bigger wide receiver. Maybe get a Jaden Daniels in round 2. Elick Ayamaner is there, right? Like, I mean, you want to talk about 6'2", 210, big guy, good speed. Could be a solid pick. Jack Beck could be a solid pick. But I see Colston Loveland here, and I think he reunites with his coach. Colston Loveland. And if you guys don't like Colston Loveland, I don't know why you wouldn't. I mean, you want a receiving tight end. You have him and McConkey on the same roster, but guys that can get open underneath, over the top, in the middle. That's killer. Like, that's dangerous, in my opinion. That's dangerous. The corner is available. Will Johnson is here. Not going to waste any time. He's going to go to Green Bay. And we'll speed this up a little bit. Minnesota Vikings on the clock. Running back, don't think they need one. They traded for Jordan Mason. They re-signed Aaron Jones. Interior, this is where it could get a little tricky. I feel like they can go interior here. DB, I feel like Walter Nolan is going to be the pick. I feel like Walter Nolan is going to be a Minnesota Viking, and I feel like I'm not going to want to play the Vikings this year. Like I don't think we do, but man, they're going to be mean up front. I know they brought in Javon Hargrave, but just in case he doesn't work out, coming off the injury, you sign the rookie. I mean, you draft the rookie, Walter Nolan, Minnesota Vikings. That would be a solid pick. All right, because I want to make sure I understand you signed Javon Hargrave, but he's coming off the bicep injury. And so just in case he starts the season off on the PUP, you draft a guy with that same upside, right? I think that would be a solid pick, in my opinion. All right, we are on the clock. Houston Texans. It's got to be offensive line here. It's got to be Kelvin Banks. I know people, look, first of all, let me just explain this. Josh Simmons is the guy, right? That's the guy that I think that's the best. He would be the best tackle, but he is coming off of that injury, that patella injury, right? And then the torn patella in the knee, right? It's a little dangerous to risk on a first-round pick. I don't think he's going to be a first-round pick because of that. Now, I'm hearing good reports that he's recovering. But until I get the clear, fully recovering, I think it would be best to stay away from Josh Simmons in round 1. Now, if you snatch him up and get him in round 2, bet you by golly, wow. Last time I drafted for the Houston Texans, they told me if I didn't go offensive line, I was going to be crucified. So, Kelvin Banks Jr., excuse me, to the Houston Texans for sure. That leaves the Rams on the clock. They need offensive line. They need linebacker. They need corners. And so now you got to see who's best available. Like, where are they going to go? Why do I feel like Jalen Walker is going to be a freaking Ram? Like, Jalen Walker would be crazy on that defense. Oh my gosh. And you could see it, man. He could rush the passer. He's a good tackler. It's great again. Great in the pass rush. Like, how you choose to use him, that's up to the Rams. But I think he would fit and play on that defense really good. So Jalen Walker to the Rams. Baltimore Ravens on the clock. And you know what's crazy? I think the Ravens go edge here. I do. And I think it's going to come down to Shamar Stewart or Mykel Williams, which I feel like are exactly identical players as far as size. You're looking at 6'5", 265, right? And he's young, But when you look at Shamar Stewart, you're looking at 6'6", 290, so a bigger guy, a little bit older, not too much older, all right, out there. But when you look at the guy who's going to give you the athleticism, when I think of, let me just break down the difference between like pass rushing and like pressures. Well, it's the same thing, but as far as being able to get to the quarterback, I don't know if that's what the Ravens need or want. But if that's what if the Ravens are looking for guys that can generate pressures and be disruptive up front, you're going to look at guys like Mykel Williams and Shamar Stewart. The pick is in, though, for me. It's Shamar Stewart to the Baltimore Ravens. Can you imagine? Oh, God. I can't even imagine it. No, I don't want to imagine it. All right, the Detroit Lions are on the clock, and we're getting to the end of the draft, the cream of the crop, the teams that finished well in the playoffs. I mean, these are all the playoff teams, right? So that the Detroit Lions, wide receiver, guard, edge, line, backer. I don't feel like they're going to draft a wide receiver here. I'm sorry that I think Luther Burden is going to slip to round 2, which would be a steal in the draft unless the team trades back up to get him. They're not going to go running back here. There could go offensive lineman here. Now, I did reach up and grab an offensive lineman, but that's me. I know people are going to give me flack on that. Linebacker, edge. So let's just check to see which edge rushers are still available. I don't know about this injury. You know what I'm saying? Like how their edge rusher is going to come back from the injury. And when I look at Aiden Hutchinson, I say to myself, man, if he recovers well, great. If not, it's going to be tough. But Marcus Davenport's still there. They brought him back, right? I feel like Mykel Williams would be a good guy to help generate pressure there. Nick Scourton, another guy. But it's possible that they don't go edge rusher because I feel like their guy is – I feel like Jack Sawyer is just their guy. I just do. I don't think you reach up to grab Jack Sawyer in round 1. Me reaching up to grab Tyler Booker is different. I feel like he's a first-round pick depending on which offense he goes to. And, you know, it's either Mykel Williams. Just looking at the linebackers and which linebackers are available. Like Demetrius Knight would be perfect there. Looking at their linebackers, they got Jack Campbell. They got Derek Barnes. Alex Anzalone. He's coming off of an injury. Malcolm Rodriguez. Malcolm Rodriguez is coming off an injury. I don't think they necessarily need to go. Carson Schwarzenegger seems like he would be the perfect fit here, though, especially to replace a guy like Alex Anzalone. Good pass coverage, good tackler. I think they could wait to round 2. I think you get your edge rusher in round 1, and I think Mykel Williams is going to be the pick. Mykel Williams. Guy that could generate pressure out there. He might not get to the quarterback, but could generate the pressure. All right, we're on the board, on the clock. Watch the Commanders, running back, guard, edge, corner. Now, let me check the Commanders because even though I like Brian Robinson, right? I do like Brian Robinson. I do. And I do understand that they also have Austin Eckler. And they just re-signed Jeremy McNichols. And then last year they drafted Chris Rodriguez. Amarian Hampton is staring at me on the board. But there's a possibility that he slides out of round 1. It's a possibility that he slides out. It all comes down to team dependency here. It says they need a guard, right? And there's been a player that is listed as a tackle, okay, but took all of his Senior Bowl reps as guard and center. And he's probably one of the best utility offensive linemen in this draft because you could literally play him at all 5 positions, and he plays them excellent. Looking at Gray Zabel, I mean, you get the best of both worlds. Your run blocking, your pass blocking. He can play zone, he can play gap, he can play power, however you want. But look where he lines up. You say you need a guard? Okay, go get him. Play guard in 2023 and 2022. You need a tackle? Go get him. He played right tackle in 23-22, and he played left tackle all 2024. Man, this would be a steal, in my opinion. And because it's Adam Peters, they're going to get the guy that I feel like the 49ers should get. All right? That's just how it works. That happened to me all last year. All right, we're on the clock. For the Buffalo Bills, 3 more picks to go. Make sure you guys hit that like button. And thank you so much for just sticking out with me and listening to my jibber-jabber jaw talk and all that good stuff. And I'll work on talking less. That's what I was asked to do. All right. Buffalo on the clock, edge, linebacker, corner. Let me see if there are any cornerbacks. I feel like the Bills are going to trade down. All right. As far as edge rushers, Nick Scourton is still there with the first round grade. Again, pass rushing. Hold on. He has a pass rush win rate of 17%. That is high. That is high. That is good. That is really good. Just looking, they did bring in Joey Bosa. They got Greg Rousseau. Do they need Nick Scourton? Possibly not. Could they use him as far as depth? Hell to the yeah. Yes, they can. They sure can. And so are you banking on, your year on a Joey Bosa that's kind of like injury prone? Yes, you are. You're paying him 1 year money. But if you draft a guy that that can become a replacement of Bosa right away, it's Nick Scourton, Texas A&M edge rusher. Oh my gosh. If you're a Bills Mafia, please give me a high five. Okay? Don't punch me. Just give me a high five. I think that's a solid pick. Kansas City on the clock. Now, Kansas City's picking 31. The Philadelphia Eagles is drafting 32. It's kind of like the end of the draft, right? Kind of like the end of the draft. And it's kind of like, end of the first round, excuse me. Let me be clear. End of the first round. For the Kansas City Chiefs, they can take a flyer on a tackle for next year. They can take the risk of drafting a Josh Simmons. I know they signed Jalen Moore in free agency. People are going to be like, they don't need Jalen Moore. Trey Smith re-signed. I get it. I understand. Or tagged him or whatever. I get it. Trust me. But this can be a good time to invest in the future. You'll see what you can get out of Kingsley Salamatea. You'll see. You got Jawan Taylor still here. If Josh Simmons is cleared and good to go, that's a solid pick. I wouldn't be surprised if they go offensive line here and grab Josh Simmons. But the biggest thing that I feel like that they should do in round one is draft another giant in Derek Harmon. Derek Harmon from Oregon paired up with Chris Jones. I mean, look at the 17.6% pass rush run rate from the interior. This guy can get to the quarterback. All right. He's not bad in run defense. He just struggled with some missed tackles. His run stop rate is good, but the tackles is where he just watching him on film, whether it's his angles or depth or whatever like that, he ends up with some missed tackles. But if the Kansas City Chiefs are able to draft Derek Harmon, golly. And last and certainly not least, we got the Philadelphia Eagles, who again can take a chance on a player or two. It says that they need receivers, guards, edges, corners. Now, I was told that they needed a safety. Now, I was told in my comment section that they needed a safety because I guess they're not sold on, Sidney Brown, who I actually like. Sine Lewis, I actually like. It's Reed Blankenship and Tristan McCollum. So maybe they were talking more about the free safeties. And just checking free safeties because I do listen to what you guys say out there. I do see, Xavier Watts, Nick Emanwiri. Why do I? This is the pick. I can't believe this is the pick. This is the pick. The Eagles are going to draft Nick Emanwiri, and their defense is going to look scary. We're talking about the athletic 6'3", 227 safety, can play in the box, can play deep. And I'll show you what I mean. And I like Xavier Watts. Don't get it twisted. He can play in the slot. He's more of a box guy. So the question is, you got Sidney Brown, you got Sine Lewis. Are you kind of redrafting that player? But he does have good relative snaps outside. 193 of his snaps were as a deep safety. So he can play it. Wow, zero TDs allowed, 4 interceptions. And you look at Xavier Watts too, and you could go this route. You could go Xavier Watts, who was the lead. He led the league FBS in interceptions. 6 feet, 203. Okay. Best ball hawking safety in the class. I'm not gonna lie. Like if you're going free safety, ooh, if you're looking for the free safety, because I feel like they've got the box guys, but Blankenship is good. Like what? Like I don't get it. I don't know why you would want to move on from Blankenship. Maybe safety isn't the position that they go. It says they need a corner. I feel like corner might serve them better because now we're looking at Keely Ringo, Adoree Jackson they brought in. Is that the guy that's going to come in there and be an outside guy? They got to find a way to match the energy with Quinyon Mitchell, who they got last year. Still love Trey Amos. I do. I'm gonna go with. I feel like the Eagles have a type at corner, 6'1", 190, a little light for me, but plays outside. And you're not going to use him inside. I think that they actually go like Maxwell Hairston. And I know his grades look suspect, but you got to go back to, for one, you're getting the fastest guy on the football and coming out of the draft this year, and 2, you got to go back to his 2023 film where he was a stout in run defense and he was a lock on in pass coverage. And if you could match him up to a Quinyon Mitchell, who I absolutely love, that was my favorite player last year. And Quinyon Mitchell, he's 6 feet, right. So he's not tall, 193, but speed, technique. I want to know what Eagles fans are thinking if I give them Maxwell Hairston, and that's the pick for me. I'm going to give you guys a corner that could come in and compete. Boom, bada bing, bada boom, smack. Thought this was a pretty solid draft now that I think about it. Like, went to 2 quarterbacks first, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, Mason Graham, top 5 picks. T-Mac goes to the Raiders, Armand Membu to the Jets, Mike Green, second edge rusher, off the board to the Carolina Panthers. All right, and Mecca Ebuka, people, the Saints may feel like, if you're who that nation, you might feel like I reach. Trust me, he's a dog. All right, Ashton Jeanty to the Bears, Will Campbell to the Niners. Faithful? Let me know. Jahdae Barron, Cowboys, Kenneth Grant, Dolphins. Tyler Warren to the Colts, James Pierce to the Falcons, Tyler Booker to the Cardinals. I can't wait to see what the Cardinals fans have to say about that. Jihad Campbell, all right, or Jihad Campbell to the Bengals. They get themselves a nice off-ball linebacker. Donovan Ezuraku to the Seahawks, Malachi Starks to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Matthew Golden to the Broncos, Jackson Dart, reach. Was it a reach? Steelers get a quarterback for the future. You bridge him with Mason Rudolph, and you let Jackson Dart be ready to go. Colston Loveland to the Chargers. Will Johnson to the Packers. I think he's going to run really well at his private workout too. Walter Nolan to the Vikings. Kelvin Banks Jr. to the Texans. Jalen Walker to the Rams. Shamar Stewart to the Ravens. Michael Williams. See, this edge rusher's coming off to the Lions. Gray Zabel to the Commanders. Nick Squirton to the Buffalo Bills. Derek Harmon to the Chiefs. Oh, my gosh. Can you imagine Derek Harmon and Chris Jones playing side by side? And Maxwell Hairston to the Philadelphia Eagles. Fly, Eagles, cry, fry, whatever it is. I'm your host, the WayneBreezie. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, don't forget to check out our partners over at residency.com. Use the promo code SFBreezie. If you like what you saw, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if this is your first time watching. Shout out to you for pushing my draft content and helping it get to the front of draft content right here on YouTube. So I salute you. Until the next time, faithful, if you're watching, you know what we say. Keep it faithful to the Bay. Peace. What's up, faithful? Thanks for watching. Hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. And make sure you check out some of the other cool videos.